Congressman Pat Fallon represents more than 700,000 constituents in the state of Texas. He believes they're the real bosses. And in this final stretch leading up to Election Day, some Democrats all over the country are about to find out who their bosses are. And maybe, just maybe, some of them ought to start looking for new jobs. Would you please welcome back to the show Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. So, Pat, you are from an energy state called Texas.
Yes, sir.
You guys produce a lot
of it?
Live right next door to it, so I totally understand it. But it's a big energy state. Mm-hmm. It's huge, and it is an important part of America's prosperity. This administration has all but said, we don't want to pump anything out of our own ground. How big a deal is that, not just to Texas,
sure,
but to the country?
You know, it's really shocking because on day one, what did he do? He canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, which would have provided about 830 million barrels of oil, or I'm sorry, 830,000 barrels of oil a day to Canada and the United States. And then that first week, he said, you know what, no more permits for drilling on federal lands and waters. And and then they're also slow walking liquefied natural gas permits. And they've declared open war on the American energy sector. So what ends up happening is gas prices go up.
Who could have imagined that? Yeah.
$2.38 when he came in office, roughly about $3.90 now. So we're paying 60% more. The average American family is going to pay $1,400 more a year in gasoline, but we're going to make, because of inflation, $5,000 less in real wages. And Joe Biden has never signed the front of one paycheck. And that's what happens. Yeah. Elections have consequences when you have a fella that doesn't understand how the economy works.
So, Congressman, President Biden says don't worry about it because he's going to be able to get the oil that we need, not from the Saudis who told him no, but we can get it out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
This drives me insane, Governor. Thank you for mentioning this. So under President Trump, first of all, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was founded in 1975 for an national emergency, act of God, time of war.
Yeah.
Not for political expediency. So what do we see? Under President Trump, it was at 695 million barrels at its height. Today, it's at about 401 million barrels, so a 43% reduction. To give it context, China has about $1 billion barrels in reserve, and their economy is not even as large as ours. It shouldn't be by fiat or decree. I filed legislation, H.R. 7996, to require it to be an act of Congress to tap into the reserve.
But even if we did, President Trump tried to fill those reserves back up to full capacity. Mm-hmm. And as I recall, he was going to be paying, I don't know,
I think.
What was it, $20 a barrel?
Yeah.
And right now, we'd be paying, what, 90 a barrel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, President Trump, he buys low, he sells high.
You're good at that. If this Congress thing doesn't work out for you, Pat, I know there's some stages where you can play and do well.
But President Trump, that was out of love, by the way, just like last time. No, but, and he did it, and they were ridiculing him then. Yeah. It was a very good time to buy and fill up the stocks because, when it's at 100, 120, maybe you can sell a little bit. But it should be, Congress, the legislative branch has to exert ourselves because we're supposed to be co-equal branches of government, and the executive branch has grown. You're really out of control.
Reassure me that you guys are going to actually do something and not just take the power, but not have it turn out like it did in the midterms under Obama, where nothing really changed.
Well, you don't want Paul Boehner, or I call him Paul Boehner, John Boehner, or Paul Ryan.
Kind of the same, weren't they?
Yeah, that's kind of a morph. Yeah. It's like they had a baby.
Yeah.
I don't know what that kid's going to look like, but.
Well, we don't want him being Speaker of the House, right. I'll put it that way.
We need to be like President Reagan, and like what you did when you were governor of Arkansas. You paint with bold colors, not soft pastels. Yeah. And we've told this, not only myself, but many others have talked to Kevin McCarthy and said, when you're Speaker, we have to, if we don't act boldly, we're going to lose the country.
Yeah.
That's really what's at stake here, and people want to see results. Now, to manage expectations, we're not going to win the White House back in 2022.
Sure.
So there's going to be divided government. And I do think, particularly after that Fetterman debacle, I've never seen anything like that in
no one has.
Decades that I've been watching this stuff, that I think we will take the Senate back as well. I bet you about 238 is going to be my number in the House. We need 280, 218, so about 20 above. And And we will, and we have to. That's why I ran for office. I was so sick and tired. That's why you ran for president. These members of Congress are almost like the Holy Roman Empire, like these little mini princes, and all they care about is their little valley.
Yeah.
How about the country? How about putting the country before your own political...
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think every American would love to see Congress look at the big picture. Now, if they do that, they can't pass bills because Joe Biden will veto everything that the Republicans send him. But you can launch significant investigations and inquiries into things that I think every American has a right to find out, whether it's the Department of Justice and FBI corruption, whether it's did Joe Biden get a cut out of Hunter's $11 million deal with China and the Chinese Communist Party backed businesses over there. I mean, those are serious things that we know one thing. Eric Swalwell will never look at it. Neither will Adam Schiff. No. But will the Republicans?
I hope you haven't eaten because I just got nauseous when you mentioned those names.
But will you guys do it?
Yeah, I sit on the Oversight Committee, and Jamie Comer is going to be the chair, and he's a great guy, and he does a lot of really hard lifting, heavy lifting for the American people. We're going to have a parking space outside of the Rayburn building where we meet, and it's going to say Alejandro Mayorkas. Because he's going to be in front of that committee so often. And right next to that, there's going to be Hunter Biden. Because we got to find things out. With Alejandro Mayorkas, he said, and he's the Homeland Security Director, he said and testified under oath in Congress last year that the border was secure. Yeah. The border was secure. We've had more fentanyl. We had 107,000 deaths last year in this country to opioid overdoses, 80,000 of them from fentanyl. Most of that is made in China, or as President Trump would say, China.
China.
and people are dying. I mean, this is asymmetrical warfare that China's launching on us. We lost 320 Americans during World War II every day. We're losing 293 to these opioid overdoses every day. And this is China's fault. We have to hold them to account. That is not a secure border. It is wide open.
Yes, it is.
And we have to hold Mayorkas to account.
I'm glad to hear that you're going to. And Congressman, we always love having you. You get a lot said in a great amount of time. We thank you very much. I know that you want to keep up with Congressman Fallon in real time and get his newsletter. You want to know how to do that? Pretty simple. If you go to Huckabee.tv, we link you to the congressman and how to get his newsletter. And I think you'll be enjoying when they get the majority, and you'll see him front and center on the Oversight Committee doing what they ought to be doing, a little oversight. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I hope you will now. The button is just below this video, and there's a little bell next to it. If you click on those, YouTube will reluctantly start letting you know when we've got a new video uploaded.